Conjugare, Centro Português de Apoio à Pesquisa Científica e à Cultura. Acreditamos que as ciências e as artes mudam o mundo. O conhecimento transforma, e isso nos motiva. 13ª Jornada Virtual Internacional em Pesquisa Científica, com o tema...
Hello, my name is Cristina Villegas Troya. I'm from the University of Córdoba, Spain, and today I'm going to talk about rural bilingual education in Andalusia. Analysis through the perspective of the teacher training centers. On one hand, we can find bilingual education, which encourages the learning of languages and foreign languages while acquiring knowledge in non-linguistic areas. On the other hand, we can find rural schools, which are special context currently neglected by academia. Due to the multiple benefits that we can find from bilingual education, more and more schools are adopting content integrated language learning, which is an approach that we can find in the classroom. However, despite all the multiple benefits of bilingual education, in rural areas, the implementation entails a series of specific challenges due to the special nature of these educational contexts. These rural schools often face conditions that hinder the effective implementation of bilingual education and bilingual programs, such as the scarcity of specialized human resources, the lack of adequate technological infrastructure, or the difficulty of assessing teacher training programs. Despite these obstacles, bilingual education can represent a key opportunity to improve the quality of the education in these areas, in these specific contexts, while at the same time favoring the integration of students in a globalized world. This research has focused on analyzing the situation of these centers in the autonomous community of Andalusia, which, with the aim of exploring the reality of rural schools in Spain. In order to carry out these studies, several interviews were conducted with plurilingualism coordinators from several teacher training centers in Andalusia, with the aim of learning about the needs and challenges faced by this center located in rural areas with a population of less than 3,000 inhabitants. The interviews allowed to identify both the advantages and disadvantages about the implementation of bilingual education in these rural contexts. Through the testimonies of the coordinators, we could obtain relevant data on the strengths, threats, opportunities, and weaknesses present in rural schools, rural bilingual schools in this case. To obtain all the results, it has been carried out a qualitative analysis using semi-structured interviews as a tool for gather all the data. The main objective of the research is to analyze and understand the current situation of rural bilingual education, rural bilingual schools in the autonomous community of Andalusia, Spain, from the perspective of the teacher training centers. In order to achieve these objectives, some interviews had been carried out with some coordinators of plurilingualism of the teacher training centers of different Andalusia provinces. We can find 4 different research questions. The first is, what are the most significant differences between rural and non-rural schools in terms of resources, organization, and academic results? The second is, what problems are encountered in rural bilingual schools, and what are the main advantages of rural bilingual schools compared to others? The third is, what general needs, both in terms of pedagogy and teacher trainings, are identified in rural bilingual schools? And the last one, what kind of support and resources do teacher training centers provide to support the development and improvement of rural bilingual schools? The main focus of this research is teacher training centers, which are in direct contact with schools and play a fundamental role in meeting the training and pedagogical needs. The teacher training centers are responsible for providing the necessary resources and training in the different educational contexts. In this case, these several plurilingualism coordinators from the different centers were located in the different provinces of Andalusia. For the data analysis, the main instrument of the data collection were the different semi-structured interviews, designed with the purpose of obtaining detailed and in-depth information about the characteristics, challenges, and needs of rural bilingual schools. This approach was chosen because this tool allowed for flexibility in the data collection process. During the interviews, it could be modified all the questions if it was necessary. The interviews were built around a set of 7 initial questions, which served as a starting point to explore in depth the most relevant aspects related to the functioning and the particularities of the rural bilingual schools in this context. The questions were: what's the role of the coordinator? Do you find any differences between a rural and a non-rural school? What are the main problems encountered in a rural school, and what are the main advantages? What needs can you identify in rural bilingual schools? What training needs do you find in rural bilingual schools? What supports do the centers provide for this type of schools? And in this case, what do you think it takes for a rural school to be bilingual or not? These interviews were conducted using 2 different modalities: asynchronously by sending emails and synchronously by interviews conducted through Google Meet. Both modalities were selected in order to adapt to the different availabilities of the participants to facilitate the cooperation. Once the interviews had been conducted, they were transcribed in order to have a detailed and accurate record of the answers provided by the interviews. For the data analysis, it was chosen grounded theory. It was a methodological approach using qualitative research that allows theories to be generated from the data collected. This approach is characteristic by the combination of 2 different processes: coding and comparison. We've got a coding phase in which fragments of text can reflect key concepts, and we identified and labeled them. And also, the theory not only allows the organization of data into categories, but also facilitates the construction of emerging theories. In this case, this methodological approach was fundamental to carry out the content analysis of the semi-structured interviews, facilitating the categorization of the data into weaknesses, strengths, opportunities, and threats. And thanks to this categorization, it was allowed the construction of a SWOT analysis to help to using this analysis in the research we were able to identify the internal and external factors that influence the development of rural bilingual schools. The results that we can find, the first were the strengths. Some of the strengths that we could find were the involvement of teachers that were residents in the educational community, as if they were in the same locality as the students, it favors a closer, more fluid relationship between them. Also, the school's influence of the local environment, which strengthens the connection between the schools and the community. The small size of the student groups, which allows for more personalized attention tailored to the individual needs of the students. Also, if the educators were trained in active methodologies, this heterogeneity becomes an advantage as it allows teachers to apply pedagogical strategies that encourage cooperative work and peer learning. Moreover, some of the weaknesses that we could find were the lack of specialized human resources, such as language assistance, the instability in the teaching staff for the internationalization projects, the distance between rural areas and urban centers, that limited students' opportunities to access to online education resources or cultural activities, and also that there was a need for training in digital tools for language teaching, as well as in the management of European projects, such as Erasmus or e-twinning. Some of the opportunities that we could find were the support and advice provided by the teacher training centers, also the internationalization of schools promoted through projects such as Erasmus or good practices shared between schools in the country. Also, the model of training adapted to specific needs of rural schools. For example, the documents that they could find, such as improvement indicators, the management projects or schools work plan. And also, some rural bilingual schools choose to organize their internal training in a non-formal way, drawing on the knowledge and experiences of expert teachers within the school community. About the threats, we could find instability of the teaching staff, non-consolidated staff, disconnection of foreign languages in the environment, because in rural schools, students often have no exposure outside the classroom, so it makes it difficult to find motivation to learn foreign languages. The geographical distance between schools and teacher training centers, they have to travel long distances to access to the training, and also that many teachers have highlighted the inequality in access to resources between rural and urban centers, leading to disparities in educational opportunities. In conclusion, we had some research questions. So what are the most significant differences between rural and non-rural schools in terms of resources, organization, academic results, or what problems are encountered in rural bilingual schools, and what are the main advantages of rural bilingual schools compared to other schools? We can find as differences the lack of specialized women resources, the instability in the teaching staff, or limited online resources that we don't find these problems in non-rural schools. Also, the involvement of resident teachers in educational context, local environment, the connection between the schools and the community, small size of student groups. These are differences that could be noted as advantages in rural bilingual schools. The disconnection of foreign languages in the environment, the geographical distances, the inequality in access to resources between rural and urban centers, or no consolidated staff are also problems encountered in rural bilingual schools, and a different specific context found in rural schools that we don't find in non-rural schools. For the question, what general needs, both in terms of pedagogy, teacher training, and identified in rural bilingual schools, we can find the education and active methodologies, the adapted material, the specialized human resources, the shared practices, all the internationalization plans. And related to the question, what kind of support and resources do teacher training centers provide to support the development and improvement of rural bilingual schools, we find adaptive methodologies, training courses, good practices, or improvement indicators. So to conclude, rural bilingual schools in Andalusia have significant strengths, such as teacher involvement, personalized attention to students, the possibility of internationalization through projects such as Erasmus. However, they face threats such as job instability, disconnection of languages with the local environment, geographical distance, lack of resources, which hindered the continuous training of teachers and implementation of innovative methodologies. But despite these challenges, the collaboration and training opportunities offered by teacher centers can help overcome these barriers and improve the quality of education in rural schools. These are the references that you can find on the presentation. And thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Hope you like it. You've got my email in case you may have any question. So thank you.
Realização, Conjugare, Centro Português de Apoio à Pesquisa Científica e à Cultura. Apoio, Editora Cravo. Inscreva-se no canal, comente, curta e compartilhe. Obrigado por assistir.